offers a dynamic framework for understanding how these parenting systems operate not as static traditions, but as evolving relational practices shaped by internal and external pressures. However, in the current digital era, especially with the accelerating presence of artificial intelligence, a new dimension emerges, which is heritage mobility. And this term, as we all know, refers to the ways cultural practices and identities circulate, transform, and adapt across technological interfaces, geopolitical spaces, and generational lines. When viewed through comparative complexity theory, AI becomes both a disruptor and a potential facilitator in the negotiation of parenting heritage. This paper, therefore, asks how do indigenous African parenting practices adapt and maintain relevance in an AI-driven world, and how can CCT help interpret the mobilities of heritage in this context? Now let's look at the comparative complexity theory and heritage mobilities. So O'Reilly's CCT posits that identity and cultural practices are best understood through comparative negotiated and fluid systems of interaction. These pillars of comparativity, complex negotiation, and fluidity align with the notion of heritage mobilities, where tradition is not fixed, but moves across contexts, especially digital ones. In an age where AI can simulate, document, and disseminate cultural knowledge, parenting practices become part of broader heritage dialogue shaped by algorithmic mediation, digital storytelling, and data-driven policy. So for example, AI-driven platforms now document indigenous stories, simulate local languages, and generate digital parenting advice, raising questions about authenticity, continuity, and adaptation. CCT now allows us to see these developments not as cultural loss, but as a part of comparative evolution of African heritage. Now, let's look at the points highlighting the indigenous parenting practices as the role of AI in cultural negotiation. Number one is the community-based child rearing as networked complexity. This adage that says it takes a village, to raise a child, as we all know in Africa, that's how we say it. This encompasses the communal nature of African parenting. With AI-supported networks, such as digital parenting forums and WhatsApp parenting groups, African diasporas, communal parenting is evolving into translocal, digitally connected communities. And therefore, CCT views how these AI-mediated systems preserve relational complexity while expanding the scope of communal caregiving. This is according to EVAS 2008. Number two is the discipline and value systems in the age of AI surveillance. Traditional African discipline emphasizes respect and communal values, often taught through storytelling and proverbs. Today, AI-powered monitoring tools, such as parental control apps, introduce new mechanisms of discipline. These tools may clash or reinforce traditional values, depending on how they are used. CCT frames this as negotiation between ancestral wisdom and algorithmic governance. This is according to Muzingiri and Muntanga in 2020. Number three, this spirituality, AI, and digital sacred. Spiritual teachings and rite of passage are central to African parenting. Through AI, as rituals can now be recorded, animated, or virtually experienced. While this facilitates heritage transmission, it also redefines sacredness in a digital context. Therefore, CCT helps analyze the sacred navigates these, the sacred transmission. It also defines sacred in a digital context. CCT helps us analyze how the sacred navigates these new realities, remaining meaningful even when mediated through the machines. This is according to Morovi at 2018. As we all know, digital sacred means the recognition, if you didn't know, the recognition of online spaces and digital tools as a sacred or holy, often in a religious or spiritual kind of context. Let's look at the heritage mobilities and child well-being in an AI context. Number one, cognitive development and enhanced apprenticeship. AI-powered education tools such as language, applications, and digital apprenticeship have the potential to support indigenous learning models rooted in observation and imitation. When integrated with traditional tasks and roles, these tools exemplify heritage mobility, where learning becomes both culturally grounded and technologically enhanced. And this is according to Broodholt and Newman in 2018. Emotional resilience through digital storytelling. AI has enabled digital preservation of oral narratives, songs, and folktales. These cultural artifacts serve as emotional anchors for children growing up in complex urban and digital environments. CCT therefore explains how such narratives act comparative bridges between past and present, reinforcing resilience amid the changing technical realities. This is according to Collins, 1998. Let's look at the challenges and negotiations in the age of artificial intelligence. Number one is cultural algorithms and comparative displacement. AI systems are often trained on Western data, embedding foreign value systems when applied to African parenting. So they can marginalize or misinterpret indigenous perspectives. Comparative complexity theory warns against this comparative displacement, advocating for AI systems that are culturally calibrated. This is according to Kiambi, 2022. Urbanization, AI, and cultural fragmentation. Urban migration and economic pressures, compounded by the digital divide, disrupt the transmission of heritage. While AI could serve as a bridge, it also risks reinforcing inequalities, while CCT now encourages a layered understanding of these disruptions as opportunities for renegotiation rather than mere losses. This is according to Cinder 2013. Policy gaps and algorithmic bias. So current legal and educational frameworks often lack the nuance to incorporate indigenous parenting within AI governance systems. Biased algorithms may replicate colonial hierarchies. CCT now urges a collaborative comparative policy model that respects indigenous knowledge systems and ensures ethical artificial intelligence integration. This is according to Mensky, 2006. Now let's see how we bridge AI and indigenous parenting through comparativity complexity theory. Number one, a comparative advocacy for AI-enabled cultural learning. So policymakers and educators must act as comparative advocates to guide AI integration in ways that protect and promote indigenous parenting. This includes developing AI tools in local languages, incorporating traditional stories into digital platforms, and supporting hybrid models of care. This is according to KD 2020. Number two, community-centered digital literacy programs. So digital literacy is essential for ensuring heritage mobilities do not become elite privileges Community-based programs that teach both parenting and digital navigation can serve as modern rites of passage, preparing children for life in both ancestral and AI-influenced worlds. Ethical AI as a cultural negotiator. Design of AI systems must view themselves as cultural negotiators when guided by CCT. AI development becomes a comparative dialogue with tradition, not a top-down imposition. This shift ensures that heritage remains mobile, meaningful, and multivocal across generations. The conclusion: Indigenous African parenting practices seen through the lenses of comparativity complexity theory and the heritage mobilities are not remnants of the past, but resilient, adaptive systems negotiating space in an age dominated by artificial intelligence. AI presents both a threat and an opportunity. It can displace or amplify traditional knowledge, depending on how it is engaged. CCT enables us to recognize these parenting systems as living, comparative heritages that thrive on complexity and negotiation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So
thank you very much, Mr. Godwin.
Thank you. So it's a little bit longer, but I tried to complex it into, I tried to make it a little short in 3 pages so that I can
present. Yeah, that was a really, really great presentation, I must say, and I think I can actually relate well to your presentation because youth of nowadays, I mean Gen Zs of nowadays, like people grow nowadays, is now a common trend for people to even people now discuss with AI, like to share their feelings with them, learn about stuff with them, like instead of like discussing with like the community or like living the communal living, people now kind of like choose AI as their partner or like people they discuss with. And then this is something you also mentioned in your paper. And I must also say, I actually like all of the solutions that you presented in solving this problem. And the one I really, really enjoyed the most for me is, where you said we should have AI tools in local languages. And, this is like whatever we give to it, that's what it's going to give to anybody asking questions from it. So that's like something that I really, really appreciate in your paper. And personally, I think you have a really, really great work, I must say. And then I think it's really important in this current time and age that we are. And yes, I would open the floor out to any other persons that want to give comments or, additions to what Mr. Godwin has said. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody has something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate it. It was very insightful. I think my question or what I'm thinking about is the implications for one of the some of the solutions that you offered, which is one, making provisions for AI tools in local languages. And I'm wondering what those implications are in order to establish that kind of framework or a system that works. What does that call us to do? What are they? So what are you thinking along that line?
Okay, so now when we talk about looking for these language tools, but a lot of people who are creating these language tools, if you try to look at them, for example, myself, I've been teaching languages for a long time. So the interpretation of the words sometimes according to what we mean, so there is the connectivity between the language and heritage. Like there are some things that we mean when we, the speakers of certain languages, when we are trying to communicate, we mean something different. And when you look at these language tools that are being developed by people who are not indigenous of certain languages, you find the communication of certain things that we mean culturally are different from these tools. So whenever we can create these language tools ourselves, that can serve the interests of ourselves. Like we have certain information that we communicate in those specific tools. For example, let me try to give an example of these, let's say, how do we call this in English? This topic that Fulakemi you are presenting in my class a few days ago, I see Fulakemi is here, that we call these are language specific stuff. Okay, let me say this. For example, you might be communicating, for example, in a certain phrase. That phrase has a different meaning that cannot be translated. So wherever these language developers of these different tools cannot understand these specific phrases, what they mean. So this is going to translate something different, of which if we develop these frameworks or these digital spaces ourselves, it's very easy to pass on the knowledge and the wisdom that we want, apart from allowing these individuals from abroad or wherever to develop these tools, of which they may, they may try to impose different culture, different understanding of what we are trying to mean as ourselves. We are trying to preserve our own culture through these tools. So the core here is to develop these tools ourselves in preserving certain cultural, messages whenever we look forward to get certain interpretations of these messages we are trying to pass or languages.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. I think that to name that, I think it calls on us to like reach out for collaboration with tech people, because what that means is we need a repository of a large number of these context-based words or phrases that are really very particular to our local languages. And that's I see that as innovative in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it also calls us to like step out and get to work, because that idea is something that I think should go beyond just conversation and really taking specific action on. And I mean, this is a conference that kind of calls us to like look outwards and figure out how we can take specific actions on some of these implications that you mentioned. Thank you.
Yes, I do agree with you, Mr. Da Silva. Yeah, just it calls for me. I think it calls for innovation, and I think that's what we actually need in Africa right now. So, yeah, Dr. Olali has something to say.
Yeah, I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to quickly, first and foremost, thank the presenter, Godwini Nichesius, for such a wonderful, well-rounded, powerful, and provocative presentation. We appreciate the work you've put into this and the understanding that you have displayed regarding knowledge, the movement of knowledge systems. It's quite impressive. And also, Dr. Da Silva had asked some quite profound, a profound question in terms of direction, right? Where do we go from here? Those are very, very helpful. And back to Godwin and his presentation. I appreciate, Godwin, you emphasizing meaning. And what I see you doing here is, I think some people would describe this as a decolonial decolonization advocacy. You are calling on, and as well as it is with Dr. Da Silva's question, for Africa to develop its own agency, Africa to develop its own will, its own muscle power, right? So that we do not continue to rely or over rely and depend on foreign aid, foreign saviors to come and help us do all of these things, because as your paper rightly implied, he that pays the piper dictates the tune. So I truly, truly I appreciate that, and I'd like to encourage that you further strengthen this, take it forward, and as soon as the call for full papers are announced, that you're able to submit this to go along in the publication that is forthcoming. Truly appreciated. Thank you so much, Godwin.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lally. Thank you very much, Dr. Da Silva. Thank you very much, Dr. Godwini. Does Dr. Falakemi has anything to say? Okay, no. All right, so we're going to move to our second presenter, and that is Dr. Oluwagbemiga Da Silva from the Harwood Institute of Public Innovation, and is going to be presenting on the topic Artificial Transfer, Diasporic Storytelling, and the Simulated Unity of a Civic Culture. Dr. Da Silva, you have 10 minutes, after which we're going to all give comments and ask questions. Thank you, sir. You can go. You can move on.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. I'm trying to share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Thank you again for the opportunity to present my paper. My title is Artificial Transfers, Diasporic Storytelling, and the Simulated Unity of a Civic Culture. What do I mean by this? I think the intention is to walk you through the core ideas and